It's Saturday morning of Holy Week. Now that we have finished the Gospel of Matthew's crucifixion scene, I must revisit the primary direction of this Gospel as it looks at the life of Jesus. Matthew is saying to his predominantly Jewish audience that Jesus was a good, faithful Jew, a teacher of the rabbinical tradition, and also a prophet calling the leadership to transformation. Matthew's Gospel claims over and over again that Jesus is doing or saying this or that to fulfill Jewish scriptures. This is counter to those in Jewish leadership who say that Jesus was not a good, faithful Jew and lacked authority. This leads to Matthew's second major message to his fellow Jews. Your leadership, the ones who have rejected Jesus, have actually not been faithful leaders. They have forsaken their solemn vows to serve, teach, and protect, to instead enrich themselves in power and wealth. This second point becomes greatly problematic in the history of Christianity, in part to make it clear that the temple leadership pushed to have Jesus executed. Pilate the governor becomes a benign, almost sympathetic person in Matthew's Gospel. We are told Pilate is greatly amazed by Jesus. He puts him up for potential release against a notorious prisoner because Pilate realized that it was out of jealousy that they, the chief priests and elders, had handed him over. We get the strange intervention of Pilate's wife. Have nothing to do with that innocent man, for today I have suffered a great deal because of a dream about him. So Pilate asks, what evil has he done? And then, most dramatically, he took some water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, I am innocent of this man's blood. See to it yourselves. Because, quote, Pilate saw that he could do nothing, end quote. He could do nothing. He was the ultimate authority with the backing of the Roman occupying army. Crucifixion was reserved for slaves who led rebellions and for those who directly challenged the authority of the state. There is no way that Jesus is crucified unless the Roman authorities want it to happen. Note also that this is a dramatic change from the Gospel of Mark's earlier account. While much of the events and dialogue are the same, there are two major changes. There's no message from Pilate's wife. And more importantly, there is no, I am innocent of this man's blood statement. Rather, Pilate ultimately condemns Jesus, wishing to satisfy the crowd. This is a consistent theme in Mark's Gospel. Like Herod before him, who executes John the Baptist not because he wants to, but because he's caught in a drunken oath, Pilate is an opportunistic leader who seeks only to serve his power, rather than any moral background to do what is right. Pilate knows Jesus is innocent of the things he's accused of, but he's perfectly willing to condemn him when it's in Pilate's best interest. Pilate's leadership is a sham compared to the way Jesus used power. Matthew's Gospel shifts the entire blame to at least the chief priests and elders, if not the people of Jerusalem as a whole. In response to Pilate's claim of being innocent of Jesus' blood, the people allegedly as a whole answered, his blood be on us and on our children. That damning statement has led to claims that the Jews killed Jesus, which has led to atrocity after atrocity for Jews at the hands of those claiming Christianity. Now, I don't think this was the gospel writer's intent. But my hunch is that Matthew's gospel softens Pilate's role not only to condemn the Jewish leaders, but because he also wants to cast doubt on the idea that Jesus and temporal rule of the Roman state are compatible. This is certainly how things ultimately evolved in Christianity's history, even if it goes against not only the teachings of Jesus, but the earlier writings of Paul. Clearly, Matthew's account makes it easier to ultimately scapegoat Jews, rather than correctly cast Roman authority as being responsible for Jesus' death. We who follow Jesus need to be aware of the biases found in the gospel text, and even more so of the history of how they have been used over time.